This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I'm proud to offer premium wireless for just $15 a month. And I'm proud that we have thousands of 5-star reviews from customers like Dan D. in New York, who writes, "I am satisfied customer. How can this only be $15? He wrote it in all caps. I needed you to feel it like he feels it. I hope I did that justice, Dan. And I hope that you try Mint too at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months required. New subscribers only. Renew for 12 months to lock in savings. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com.
Let's get this shit show of a show on the go, shall we? Wherever you're in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Basically, what is going on at Bradford City? So, Stan, Diane, I'll take it over to you guys. If you could basically accept people and stuff, I'll listen in and I'll chirp in when I get in. So, Diane and Stan, over to you guys.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers, Tony. Do you want to go first, Dan, or do you want to give us your...
It's up to you. I watched it at my dad's today. I watched it with my dad, and my dad was giving his opinion.
Yes.
In the first half, he said we were letting them get too wide out on the wings. We weren't getting into them. We weren't narrowing them down. Yep. And then he was going about the girls, defending the girls. There were no defenders there, which I noticed as well. And everything, because my dad was just saying, I'd have been doing this and I'd have been doing that. So, but it was crap in the first half, but I thought we did better in the second half.
Yeah, and so what do you think was the reason then for the differences?
I think they might have had a rocket up the bum in the second half during the half time.
Do you think the formation played a part in both the first half and the second half?
Yeah, definitely. Because anybody know why I took Bobby off? Was he injured?
I think if you look at what went on in the first half, I mean, Bobby was, that one mistake aside, Bobby was one of the bright sparks going forward. But the trouble was, and the trouble is with 4-4-2, and I wish people would put this to bed now. Nobody plays 4-4-2, or hardly anyone plays 4-4-2, and it was left exposed because there was a massive gap in the midfield, basically, and out wide, and from full back to winger. And what they seem to have like a back four, but almost like in their sort of forward line, they had like a player almost like in a kind of triumvirate between our wide men and the fullback. And so they were in those areas in between. And obviously, I don't think we've played well and we didn't close down well enough. McGoldrick obviously seemed to have like a free role, and he was very influential in their in the way they played. In terms of, you can see that he's a sort of he's very much a team leader in that respect, or very pivotal in how they play. And they seem to have this patient passing game where they would pass it around at the back, and their fans didn't get on their backs for doing that. I would like to hope that that's the last we'll ever see of 4-4-2, because what it does, it kind of isolates, and it really took the wingers or Jamie Walker and Bobby out of the influence of the game. Obviously they were a good side, and they exploited. What the annoying thing for us was that they obviously did, but they didn't seem to have to work too hard for their goals. They were great goals, good shots, but we were basically just we were down on his asses almost, and like not closing down, and a side that's obviously has quality players, and you've got to do better. they seem to, when we were, whether that's just down to the fact that maybe in a second half when we were actually getting some shots in, they were probably a little deeper because, you know, in your mind, you've won, you're 4-0 up. We had something to prove in the second half, but they were there for the taking, or at least for a comeback in the second half, albeit they could have scored quite a few more in the first half.
Yeah, I think that's what my dad was saying about our defenders. We weren't closing down.
No, and it wasn't just the defenders, but sorry if I've misremembered your name. Is it Scott from last night? Paisaros?
Yeah, does he want to request?
Do you want to give your thoughts from a county point of view?
He's gone off.
Yeah, he may come back in.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out.
Anyone else? Yeah. Oh, hang on a second. I've got a request. Yep. Deezy, you can now speak. Yes. What's your thoughts on the on the game?
Well,
Deezy.
Well, it was certainly. Good evening, everybody. It was certainly a game of two halves. In so much as we looked, when we changed it around at half time, we looked like a different side, to be fair with you. I just feel that I was stood with Labib actually at the game today, and I just said to him, I said, you know, Stubbs or Taylor on their own, you could probably get away with, but both of them are so flat paced.
Yeah.
That together, we just look so vulnerable. To be honest with you, I just don't think we can carry two, you know, lack of pace centre halves. I mean, look, for me, everybody on that pitch today, the first half, should be ashamed. There was three players for me that I thought, two and a half, let's just say. I thought Gilly was outstanding. I thought Bradders were outstanding, and Walker did deliver something instead of just grafting. So, you know, but the game's lost, isn't it, at 4-0 down? You know, and should have been 5. That one offside, I didn't think was offside, to be honest, where I was in the stand. But it's bad, guys, isn't it? You know, I'm worried, to be honest.
Yeah. Just picking up on your points, Deezy, I agree. And we were sort of saying that, to be fair, I don't think Kieran Kelly's done much wrong this season. I mean, he has his limitations, but is he any worse than Stubbs? And he's a natural left footer. I would hope that today is a 100% indicator that Ash Taylor is not good enough.
Oh,
and I think what for me, it's all a game of two halves, but it was a game of two formations as well.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, like because if you look back to did you go to the Wickham game?
No, I didn't. No, I watched it.
But for me, and what was potentially could have happened in the first half and wasn't able to. But I agree with Gilly, Brad, and Jamie for the game. I think, but in that game against Wickham, there was a triumvirate of Brad, Jamie, and Bobby down that right hand side. They were just creating so many little triangles and overlaps, and they were doing really, really well.
The result we were after, but how do you assess today?
But that was like because the formation allowed that, you know, in terms of like having that kind of Jamie more in the central role.
Yeah. I think for me today, you know, I had the benefit actually of seeing McGoldrick at Derby last year. My next door neighbour's a Shrewsbury fan, and we went to Derby away. And for what he's lost in pace, he's not lost in mentality, touch. Although he made our centre half look slow, so that tells you something at 37.
Yeah.
But on that right side where Bobby was, you know, Bobby looked for me. He's 19. You know, he looked starstruck to me. You know what people said to me when I was playing football at a younger age is you know, the best form of offence is to hit them first, and we just gave the wrong man so much space.
Yes,
you know, he's a league above at least, even at this age, and he's gone to his own town club. And it were almost like we were all waiting for his autograph at the end of the game. We gave him that much respect, to be honest with you. And it was a bit cringe to be. I mean, Bobby, in fairness to him, he's 19, so he's a young boy, and has got a lot to learn throwing in at the deep end. But I just felt that we gave him too much respect from the first whistle, in my opinion. And it's a confidence-driven game, isn't it? I just think our confidence is absolutely shot.
Yes. Before I come to you, Diana, I'll just say 100%. I think, but Bobby still had some good moments in the first half.
Brilliant moments.
That little back heel to
down the right wing,
Brad. Yes.
Yeah.
And he's got those sort of things that you can't coach. Today wasn't his day, but I think that was more down to the formation not suiting him, like not having somebody kind of closer into him. But so go ahead, Diane, anyway.
It's just about, do you know what I was saying about in the first half? I've just read on Twitter that Gilead has been interviewed by Radio Leeds, and he said they need to apologise to the fans that were down there for the first half.
I think that's a fair cop, to be honest with you. I mean, the fans singing, I've not heard that for a long time. You're not fit to wear the shirt. I mean, I didn't sing it because, I felt like it, but I just felt, I don't know. I just hope that Graham's learnt today that, two people like Taylor and Sam Stubbs, it can't work. We're too slow. Take the Irish boy Kelly and just give him the chance, because it can't be any worse. Than where we're at. It just can't. And then I don't know if you remember the second half. Ball comes over at top, and Sam Stubbs, middle of nowhere, no one near him, tries to take a touch, got the touch, like a donkey, and then puts us under pressure. And they should have scored. Where is that coming from?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's probably a lot of things going on, and for whatever reason, there's a mentality within the players, and it's kind of gone on for a while, and it's going to be all in for Alexander to kind of change the mentality. I don't want to be rude either, guys, but what's happened to Lewis? A couple of times today. I mean, he did a couple of worldie saves, in fairness, and I am a Lewis fan. I think he's a great keeper. But his distribution has always been all right. He fizzes it fairly hard, and any professional footballer who can control a ball at 40 mile an hour, 6 foot up in the air, and is a question mark in itself. But then they weren't even going in the pitch today. Yeah,
no pressure.
Can I say something, guys?
Please do. Yeah, welcome to the.
So Scott again. I thought second half you guys were terrific. I'm listening to you guys, and there's a lot of negative stuff coming out. I understand you got beat, and obviously first half was what it was. But the second half, I thought you were terrific. And if you had a decent centre forward who could put the ball in the back of the net, you'd have got a lot more goals. I mean, we talked about last night. I said if you had a guy who's up top who can score with his head, you'd have chances and score. And sure enough, that's how it panned out. It's just that your man Cook didn't hit the target. But if he hit the target, he'd have got a hat trick yesterday.
Just to quickly come back on that, I think it's a confidence thing with Cook this season, because he got 31 goals last year, and he was just he's like pretty much one chance, one goal kind of thing. So it's definitely he's a very much a confidence player.
I think he's overweight again, if I'm honest, guys, and I think he's injured.
But you take.
Oh, is he still there, or is he gone?
I think he's gone.
He's still down a speaker, so.
So did anybody? Oh, sorry to chip in, but did anyone notice at the end of the game a fan giving Andy Cook a bit of jip?
Yeah, it was right in front of me. It was right in front of me.
Do you know what got said there, bud?
I don't. There was about 3 fans, all fairly big lads as well, actually, were proper giving Cookie, and Cookie went sort of. He was clapping, and then we're like, "What are you saying?" And sort of got a bit engaged, and then Smallwood came over and pulled him away. So I think it was 2/5 of nothing because of the way in which Smallwood handled it, if that makes sense. But I think he would have come over, and I think Cookie would have bit at that point, because you could see how he was lining it up in his body language.
I also think as well, you could see that whatever was said had affected him. Like at that moment in time, his expression changed, and it was almost like very much as I was sort of saying to. Sorry, I think it's got the Pies R Us.
That's right.
He's very much like, and I've sort of said it. I don't think he's been fit or been like. He's looked overweight. Whether it's a shirt that's not doing him any favours, I don't know. But if that's Cook from last season, he's very good. He's got a hat trick today. But
absolutely. I mean, is it the positive that you were creating the chances in the first place? I mean,
I think when you come out 4-0 down, your mentality changes at half time if you're 4-0 up, and I completely agree with what you're saying, and thank you for coming on and painting some positivity. But as a City fan, away at MK Dons for me was the start of us looking clueless. And you can't one hot day doesn't make a summer. So I get we were better second half, but this is systematic for me.
But you've got a new manager, haven't you? And he changed it around second half. On his interview, he admitted he got it wrong in the first half. You were way too passive. And as you said, McGoldrick is class. He's way above League Two, and we've got Crowley, we've got the man. And even though we didn't have Jody Jones, and as I said.
Oh, is he still there, or has he disappeared? Or is it my Wi-Fi connection?
No, I think he's gone.
But he's in and out. I think in response to that, I think yes. I mean, we did play well second half, and that's a case of as I sort of said at the start that kind of when you're 4-0 down, 4-0 up, it's very hard to maintain that in the second half. And we got a rocket, probably at half time, and you've nothing to lose at that point.
So where you were sat, Stan? Obviously. I probably can't repeat what I put on Facebook, but it involved lube.
I showed that to my dad.
What did your dad say about that situation? What I put up on Facebook?
My dad laughed.
I didn't say it.
Yeah, because I'll censor it, but on Facebook I put on the lines of has anybody got any lube? Because we're getting it right. Basically, derriere.
It was funny. It just made me laugh.
So 4-0 down. Did anyone like Stan or sorry, I can't. Currently, I'm trying to drive and multitask in a safe manner at the minute. But did anyone near you leave the ground? Anyone sat next to you or anything? Did they leave the ground?
Yeah, I had loads go.
Yeah.
Loads go. Yeah, the entire 2 rows behind me left.
And so? I'm gonna move on if it's all right, guys and girls. So we're gonna move on now. So, what's the general problem? I know we did a part 1 a while back ago, and I know it gets quite a lot of interest. So I thought I'd bring it back today. Just basically, if anyone wants to chirp in, feel free. Just about issues at Bradford City. Whose fault is it? Who's to blame? And does anybody need to go?
Can I just make a quick point on that, actually?
Go for it, mate.
I'd heard this week, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I think it is, that Graham Alexander, in the interview process, and indeed since taking the job, has not met or spoken to Rupp.
Yeah, that were online. I saw it on the TNA.
If that's true, okay, a couple of things for me. That's a disgrace, in that it shows his little interest or no interest in our football club. So that's my first point. The second point is that then it falls to Sparks to be the man that's making the decisions. And I hope he's got this one right, but it has to be right this time. Otherwise, where does it stop? Who carries the can? Do we just continually saying, well, we're a big club, we should be out of this league with our fan base? Or do we actually look a bit deeper and say, systematically something's going wrong? And it's not for me to say I'm not calling Sparks. It's relish in some respects that you never please all the people all the time. But this is a results-driven business, guys, and we're not where we should be, irrespective of our fantastic fan base, which a lot of them are on here. There's got to be wholesale changes in the club for me. The 11 players, the squad of 23, 25, whatever, will change in January with hopefully East coming back, and we've got to bring Young back in that clause in January, etc. But I don't think that stops the rot. I think there's other problems in hand. That's and people will probably blow me down for that, but that's where I'm at.
So when I was in Hargraves having my lovely meal before we just to drown my sorrows a little bit, I had a look at the league table. We're currently 19th in the league now. In my opinion, I know Sutton are going to get relegated. They definitely look like they're going to go down, but then it's going to be between, I think, Forest Green and Tranmere. So I don't think we're going to get actually relegated this season. I might be wrong, but if we do, we do. It happens. Football matters. But watching that game, especially the first half, every single one of them players, apart from I think Bobby Point and he showed a bit of fight, should basically have to go and refund the fans, because it was just shocking. I thought how we played in first half. I'm lucky I didn't leave. I stayed. I thought I'll stay because I paid it. I've come about an hour and 45 minutes, brought my friend with me, and I just thought I'm not leaving, just see what happens. And obviously we fought back, and then the issue with Cookie at end. But I think it's coming from the top. And there was a bit of a thing about a small majority of fans saying sack the board, but tell me if I'm wrong, but by all accounts we don't actually have a board. It's because we're associated.
I was going to say, Johnny, they can say sack the board if they can name them, but the fact that we don't have a board, then it's kind of that's pretty much. But sack the board, but like, who's going to do the sacking? So say, for example, if Rupp is at fault, and let's just say that we're going to attribute bad intent on his part, and he thinks, right, well, I'm going to run the club how I want to see it run. And he says, no, I'm not going to sack the board. Then what? It's kind of... I think on a day-to-day basis, in fact, interestingly, a very minor tangent, but it is relevant. I was listening to the podcast with Darren McAntony on the way down, and he was basically saying the last couple of years, he's and he said it's taken him a while to come to this philosophy, but it's like, right, okay, this is the DNA of the club. This is what we're doing. We're gonna have young players. We're going to bring players through. We're going to sell them on. We're going to kind of be so they have a model, and it's like, sod what anyone else is saying. This is what we do. And for the last 5 years, what has happened is we've assembled a squad. It's not gone to plan. Then we brought a manager in who's got a different philosophy, but he hasn't got the players to basically implement his philosophy, and it's a mishmash. And there's no coherent philosophy or strategy within the club. Now that does stem from the top, so and that comes down to the managers you hire, but also sticking with the managers you hire, because I think my mate put it best, and most people will have probably agreed to this to a certain extent. He says he's agreed with all the appointments, but hasn't agreed with all the sackings, in terms of, like, you've actually got to kind of give it a chance to sort of actually work, because otherwise, we are in this predicament because we're constantly chopping and changing, and there's no continuity. There's no actually, we've got this plan, so let's stick to this plan, because otherwise there's no point having a plan.
I think good point. So is this not the Man United effect, in so much as commercially the club's doing well? Next week we'll announce that we've got new hand dryers with a partner in ladies' toilets and probably a pool table in COP.
I hope they get new hand dryers in toilets.
Well, it's coming. You heard it here first. But commercially, I think Flamingo Land, whoever, everybody coming back. Commercially we're doing well, but of course that's not rolling into. That's supposed to be revenue generation to roll into, on the pitch decisions. And for me, so commercially we're doing well, but of course that's not on the pitch, is it? So it's a Man United effect for me. That's what we're suffering with at the moment. And I just had a quick look. We've conceded 27 goals and scored 20. So we can all say that, Cookie's up there by himself and he's not a one-hit wonder. I get that. Smith for me, I don't know whether he's any cop. Time will tell. But we conceded 27 goals. And that for me is Tyler and a combination of no pace with Tyler and Stubbs at the back.
Also, as well, and not to sort of pick on the lad, but it's just pure facts, and it's just, it's like how many. I looked the other day, and Harry Lewis was at fault for about 7 or 8 of those goals. Now, if you take those into actually the Colchester one he got away with, but like the actual games, we've ended up kind of losing those games. So, and again, I will reiterate, I think Harry's a great keeper, but he's having an awful season, and so we need to just basically, if Colin Doyle is a player coach, have him playing a few games, give Harry a break.
There's a couple of things in there, and I agree with what you just said. The only thing I would say is that for every one that he's made mistake, he's probably made 2 to keep us in games. So his net contribution is a bit stronger. I agree with all that you've said, but the likes of Stubbs and what they've done is made mistakes, and I don't think that they give us the net contribution that Lewis does. So for me, it's not a like for like comparison.
Well, I would say to that, sorry, DZ, but yeah, and the defence have been kind of responsible, like this. Generally, the centre half pairings have been responsible for the other goals that we've conceded that have kind of like been a net negative. So, and a keeper of Harry's level, you'd expect him to make good saves. It's making saves in games that you're not busy, and then you suddenly have to pull one out, which Harry did so much of last season, that he's not doing this season for whatever reason. And I think it's a mental thing. And how much is he analysing his game in the aftermath?
He made a good save today, I thought.
He made a couple of belters.
Yeah. He did today, because obviously I had to watch it on telly, but I thought he made a couple of good saves today.
He did. I'll tell you something and you touched on it a minute ago, I think there's a huge problem, is that Doyle's a good keeper, but he's not a League 2 keeper. He'll do all right in Pizza Cup, whatever, but he's not a League 2 keeper, in my opinion. And, that actually, as you said a minute ago, causes a bigger and wider problem, is that there's no competition for places. So Lewis knows he gets picked, irrespective of his performance, really, as does Cookie, and that's evident in him being overweight, a bit injured. So there's no competitiveness in the squad, so they know they're going to get picked. So I'm not saying that they don't want to win. I think they are winners. Labib said to me today, he said, individually, our defence, if you look at each of them individually, you'd say they're good League 2 players. They just can't play together.
Do you think the morale's low?
Oh, I think it's on its arse.
Rock bottom, like the Titanic under the sea.
Sunk.
Right, because speaking to people like you do at the ground, I'm not going to name the person who I spoke to, but he told me a story. I don't know how true it is. About, you put like money in. They put money in to get like dietary stuff at the club. So apparently that's gone up from like 90 or 100 quid. But then apparently there's a certain player who's not putting the money in. He's refused to put money in, so he has to buy his own.
Mm.
I think overall, I mean, Steve, because we can only go off of hearsay and conjecture and kind of make us our own kind of hypotheses about what's going on with the players. But I think in general, aside, I think the players have gotten off lightly this season with regards to, sort of their contributions to the way the season has gone. And, fair play in the second half, they kind of took some responsibility. But, things like dietary stuff, it's like in this day and age, there's no excuse really for players not kind of having those things in place themselves, being basically model professionals, because that's basically pretty much a norm in these days, I would say. And an interesting point my mate said to me today, and I think that's a really good point, is, sort of like Harry talked about how professional he is and stuff like that, and he eats right, which I've no doubt is true. But then how professional or how analytical, I'm taking this because are there other players in the side that do this as well? How analytical are they of their own game? So, for example, the goals that we conceded against Wickham, the second goal was poor defending, but I think the first one, Harry's body shape was all wrong. And it was something that, like, as a goalkeeper, you think, right, okay, so does his footwork have to be better? Well, it does, but in what way does his footwork improve his positioning in that instance? And is he doing that sort of analytical work with Colin Doyle? I don't know, but I don't think there's any excuse in this day and age, like I say in general, for players to lack any knowledge of nutrition, to want to kind of improve themselves. But then again, maybe they're League Two players for a reason. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that, guys?
It's like you're saying there with Colin Doyle. I know he's a player coach, but do we need to bring someone who's better at coaching a goalkeeper? It's like, my argument is, like I said in past podcasts, about like new managers come in, they get staff. The same staff are probably still there from Derek Adams' time or Mark Hughes' time. And it's time to change the staff and change the mentality, tactics and formation of what they do on the training pitch. It's like with Doyle, he's probably a great player, but he might not be a good coach.
Well, we don't know that, but you would assume that that's what Alexander will do. He will because obviously he's only had 2 games, and he's basically learning who he can trust and who he can't trust, and what formation he can play and what he can't play. So I would imagine that it might be something down the line, but to a certain degree, I think maybe the manager has got to assess what he thinks of the goalkeeper coach. And I'm using the goalkeeper coach because it's probably the most obvious thing where you can analyse your game, because the goalkeeper makes mistakes, it leads to a goal. So you're constantly having to work on your game. So I don't know if outfield players do that as much. Maybe they do higher up. And maybe we don't have the resource, I don't know.
So, like, if anyone else wants to come in or anything like that. So, as a fan, Stan, and Diane, and Daisy, and others, what do you think, personally, needs to change at the club?
I can go on that if you want.
Yeah, go for it. But
I'm thinking.
I think there's a couple of things. The immediate thought process for me is to let Graham do what it's not choice. This is just common sense of what we got to do. You got to let Graham feel his way around the club and pick his players. 4-0 down, Taylor's off half time. I hope that's the back of him. Although I think he signed a couple of year deal or a year. I don't know. But I think we've got to get the on pitch stuff sorted primarily and look to January. The question is, have we got a relegation battle, or have we given up on playoffs? I don't even want to think about that or answer that question myself yet. But we've got to let Graham try and get around the players and give him just a bit of time to try and change things there. That doesn't cure the systematic problems within the club for me. And we haven't got any choice about what Rupp does, but I heard today, sack the board, and I know there isn't a board, but, it gives you a demonstration of how the fans are starting to turn, not against the manager, because you can change that all the time, and the same problems are prevalent. So there's two answers. The short term is let Graham get it right. Longer term, we've got to have new owners at some point, haven't we?
Definitely need new owners. Definitely. And like you say about Graham, needs to get round the club and learn the club.
You got any thoughts on it, Dan?
Hello. Like I said, when we got Alexander, I always support the manager. I'll never not support the managers or the players, but the CEO and upwards, it needs a good old looking at now. I know some fans have differs of opinions, which is fair enough. But look at the position that we're in. We're now in the same position we were 10 years ago, basically. Bottom end of League Two. Not going anywhere anytime soon. I think there's a hell of a lot of rubbish in that squad to clear out, and most of them are on 3-year deals. One that goes under the radar, which annoys me, is Gent. He's signed a load of players, and to be honest, he signed Oliver on 3-year deal, and he's played all of about 4 months for us in that time. It's poor from top to bottom, and I just think until we change the way that the club is run, I don't think we will advance out of this league. I don't think I can't see any progression, which hurts because a lot of people seem to believe that people that don't want the Rupp in charge, that we want failure. We don't want failure. I'd love to be proven wrong. Absolutely love it. But I can't see it. There's no, since we sacked Hughes, when was that? Anyone? About 8 weeks ago?
5th of October.
So, 7 weeks. We've not heard anything. We all knew we were going down a lot more before Hughes got sacked. We've heard nothing from the owner. And yeah, I get the argument, the Glazers and whatnot, they don't communicate with the fans, but we're not Man United, are we? We're Bradford City. We're a small team. And I just think it sets us up for failure, and it sets us up for conflict within the fan base as well. Because obviously you've got the people that don't want the owner to leave and they support him, and then you've got the people that do. And I just think at the moment the fan base is as divided as I can ever remember it. The club is in an absolute mess, and there's just no way out, because we're just doing the same week in, week, season in, season out. We just get rid of a load of crap and then sign a load of crap again. And it's just like, how long can we continue doing this before inevitably, we could end up like, and I'm sick of telling people this, we could end up like what Scunthorpe has. Just because we have a big ground and a big fan base does not mean that we won't happen. As
you never know what's going to happen in football.
No.
Do you? Like, look at Port Scunthorpe, Bury, Bolton,
Reading. Look at how Reading are being run. Yeah, we're not that, but we could easily end up being that, and that's what annoys me. Is we can end up being in that situation, because if Rupp gets bored and wants to go back to his car race and decides to pull the plug, where do we leave? We're 19th in League Two with no ground, no training facilities, nothing, and he wants 10 million for us. It's time to maybe not force the owner out. I would personally like that, but start asking questions. We've got a supporters board which is about as much use as a chocolate teapot and doesn't actually do anything for supporters except ask for pool tables. It's not questions that should be asked. It's questions that we need asking. What's going on in the background? Where's the plan? They came in this club asking. They came in the club. We've got a 10-year plan. Well, that's been an outstanding failure, hasn't it? Because 7 years in, we're in a worse position than what we were when they took over. That's what annoys me. We need to start asking questions. Forget the tennis balls on the pitch and crap like that, because, well, that's just not going to happen, is it? But as fans, we now need to start asking questions on where we progress in the club, because I can't see any progression in the next 5 years at all.
So as fans, we all really need to work together then, don't we, for change? Change does not happen as yourself. You can't do it on your own. You need to stick together, be a team, work together and change. It's like, I know I've gone about it on past podcasts, but there's a fantastic program, I think, on Amazon, and I think it's like Our Pompey or something along the lines of that. And it's all about Portsmouth, the ownership, and then the fans taking over the club, and then the club came good, and then they've sold it again, I think, to some American guys, and the club's growing. So things need to change, personally, I think, from the ownership. And I think the only way we're going to do it is everybody working together instead of everybody doing bits and bobs on their own.
I don't mind if I jump in again. That's never going to happen. You look at our in a podcast, not podcast, like a live stream with Around the Grounds, which is a Wednesday fan, and how they're being run at the moment. you're always going to have people that back the board, and I get that, because no fan base is ever going to unitedly agree, but it's not about wanting the owner to go, wanting the owner to stay. It's about wanting the team to progress. And, Sparks is really good as a, commercial. But his footballing decisions, you don't need me to say 7 managers in his appointments. It ain't fantastic, is it really? It's more about moving together and asking questions in opposed to finger pointing at this point. Because the real prospect is that we're closer to relegation than promotion, and if we do go into the National League, we're honestly, pardon the language, we're fucked. Because we pay £500,000 a year rent, and we have an owner that doesn't invest. If we dropped into the National League, we'd drop 7,000 season ticket. There goes your budget. For an owner that doesn't want to invest, you can't be a self-sustainable club in the National League with no fans. If we went down, I honestly think that'd be the end of our club, because I don't think we would be able to afford the astronomical costs that come with the ground and, the players that we signed on 3-year deals, and inevitably, if we did go down, sacking Alexander, which is on a 3-year deal, this is my point. We allow too many things to go unnoticed. We give Hughes a 3-year deal and he lasted a year. I said before Alexander got hired, I think he'll be gone before the end of the season. That's 2 managers, 6 years of deals that I don't think we'll even get a year and a half, 2 years out of.
So we've had Steve Hamilton, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's commented, it's not just Roop's communication, it's the club's overall, and it's about the club having plans that fans can get behind. The fans don't know if they're even a plan from. That's the problem. So it looks like the club are about to say going back again, where the communication from the club is non-existent. I remember times where the club communicated quite a bit. I know their fans forums, we have them, but then it's a club in it. There's just it seems like they don't like to interact with fans anymore, and it's hard to explain, but just the club, I think, need to get the communications back on track. And if anyone else wants to add anything,
do you get a email newsletter every week or something? Because I keep getting them.
Yeah, I signed up for that.
Yeah, I've got that.
I think the problem lies more is the supporters board is supposed to be the supporters' voice. They're supposed to be the ones that go and ask the club the questions, and we don't get them questions. We get the same questions about the stairs behind the Kop and pool tables and in the lounges. They're not questions that need to be asked. They need to be asking questions: where is our club going to progress? Because at the moment, we, as a club, I don't think we have any identity at all. We change players every season. We change managers every season. We've got an owner which is disinterested and a CEO which is far underqualified for the role that he's in. There's no identity in the club, and there's no way. Well, this is my view. There's no way of seeing that light at the end of the tunnel, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, because someone else. Sorry, just find it again. Jamie has put, what do you think of bringing a new CEO and moving Sparks to communicational director, what he's been good at? Any thoughts on that, guys and girls?
Might be a good idea.
Be a good idea, but can we afford someone that's going to do a decent job? There's no point getting someone that's cheap, because, we already have somebody that's cheap. We need somebody that has proper experience and that can progress us forward.
Yeah.
The chap that was, I can't remember his name now. He used to be before these two took over. Someone like him. I can't remember his name for the life of me.
I know you mean. You go to Burnley.
I can't remember.
David Baldwin.
No, it wasn't David Baldwin. It was
James Mason
on Twitter as well. That's it, James Mason. Someone like him. I don't expect we're going to sign somebody with bounds of experience from Man City. but we need someone that talks to the fans, communicates with the fans. And another thing is communicates with the fans when shit gets hard as well. Because it's all right being there like Sparks was when we were doing good, but we need someone to come out and quell the unrest as well. Because I very much doubt that players don't read what's going on. I very much doubt they do probably read and they do see what's going on. And I just think the whole, from the players to the fans I think the club's just rotten. I mean, the players are at the lowest, the fans are fed up, and we haven't heard from an owner and a CEO that is just lost.
I think, guys, if I could just very quickly, again, going back to the Darren McAmpney podcast, with regards to what his thing is bringing in best in class in all departments. So best CEO that he can get, best manager, best academy manager, best commercial manager, and so on. And we don't have that. I mean, in terms of first team managers, we can all have an opinion and some work better than others.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
But that does reflect in terms of we did have the guy who was the academy coach or manager, and sadly he passed away. But, but where else do we have these elements that are best in class? And again, going down to, and I agree with pretty much what has been said by pretty much almost everyone in terms of it does really stem from the top. And, I don't wish anyone kind of anything sort of negative, but I do think that perhaps Ryan's out of his depth. I mean, he may come on. Somebody may sort of tell me something that he's doing that disproves what I'm saying. But my view has been I've said this for years, is if I was an owner, the highest paid person within the organisation, i.e. the football club.
If there's one thing that my family and friends know me for, it's being an amazing gift giver. I owe it all to Celebrations Passport from 1-800-Flowers.com, my one-stop shopping site that has amazing gifts for every occasion. With Celebrations Passport, I get free shipping on thousands of amazing gifts. And the more gifts I give, the more perks and rewards I earn. To learn more and take your gift giving to the next level, visit 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST.
Would be the CEO, because that is where a lot of the decisions are made, and it's where the if you like the DNA of the fans aside, it kind of constructed. It goes from there, and we don't have that. And and it's pretty much in agreement with what has been said, really, in terms of it is lacking leadership, and I think over the period where we didn't have any communications after Hughes was sacked, you don't want them to just do it for the sake of it, but I think they could have probably saved themselves a little bit of hassle if, say, after 1 week, 2 weeks, saying, look, guys, we're obviously looking at this, it's a big pool, we are trying to make the correct decision, and do that a couple of times. It may have just avoided then suddenly, after a few weeks, it's like, oh, the natives are restless, I better put out a communique, and I think things like that, the team, somebody like Ryan Sparks or whoever, should know that. Just you don't have to give fans what they want in terms of, don't fill them with platitudes, but just say, look, guys, bear with us. We're in this process, so we just want to keep you in the loop, but we can't tell you. And I'm sure most people would have accepted, well, at least they maybe, at least informing us that they are doing something. I don't know what you guys think of that.
So I'm going to go back to what Dan said and other people said about communication. It's like, I don't know if anyone remembers, but they did tweet out, I think, I can't remember off the top of my head, but someone did tweet it out as a reminder about safe standing. It's like, what's happened to that? That seems to have disappeared on or behind main priorities and stuff. It's like nothing's been heard about it.
It all goes back to money, though, doesn't it? It all goes back to the money that we don't have, and I think that's obviously safe standing. I don't know how much it's going to cost us. I can't imagine it's going to be 250 grand. I can imagine with all the applications, the changing, the seats, whatever, ain't going to be cheap.
If Bradford City are making money,
we're not making money.
No, like on iFollow and stuff. Like, because we've got a fan base, haven't we? And the fan base is loyal to the team. Like, especially when we're doing well, I know iFollow passes go through the roof.
So, a question to you then, Johnny. Where would you rather, say it costs 300,000, would you rather that went on safe standing, or would you rather that went on 2 good players?
2 good players. Without a doubt.
Exactly. So in that respect, I think money is being kind of more sort of focused on team matters, which any manager would want, rather than safe standing, where it's a kind of a niche grievance, if you like.
But going through like to the players and stuff, I know you've mentioned it before, but who have we actually bought physically?
Cook. We signed.
Who we actually paid money for? No, where is it? Osid? Him who's at Hartlepool, and then he's gone on loan somewhere.
Timmy Odesina.
Did we pay for him?
I don't know, but I mean that's a red herring.
No, we didn't,
because we've basically, to lure Vidane Oliver out of League One, we've given him a 3-year deal, and I'm sure at a handsome wage as well. So I think transfer fees are a bit of a red herring, because to get players in, you're gonna pay the money. All the money's going to go to the player rather than in a transfer fee. So
you either pay for the player or you give him a 3-year deal. That's why we can attract the likes of Walker, Oliver, and the likes of Cookie, for example. That's why we give him a 3-year deal.
But he's not been good though since he had his 3-year deal, has he?
Yeah, but that's a kind of a theme with a lot of our players. Like Walker is very, very disappointing in my eyes. What we saw of him when he were on loan from Hearts versus what he's been since we bought him. He's been half the player that he was, along with quite a few of the players that we do seem to buy like that.
I would disagree with that, Dan. I mean, he was out for half a season last season.
Yeah.
And I think he's been, alongside Bobby and Brad, the best of the best three, in the best 3 players this season, without a doubt, for me. That's my opinion, but
I agree with that. But I'm saying in what he produced at Hearts and what he produced in the season that he was here on loan, the half of the season that he was on loan, that's what I'm referring to. He's been the best out of the bunch, And I just looked up. We did lose money. We didn't make any money last year. We lost 300,000. So again, that's probably why
that was paying Derek Adams off.
Yeah, which I mean.
So it's kind of going back to this identity and this kind of like having a stamp and but also sticking to a plan. It's like sort of like you've got Derek in. You've actually poached him from another club, and when things are. I mean, I know that he got really toxic. But this is I think one of the things, my criticisms of Sparks, and I've said this, and I'll just repeat it for those who haven't heard this, so apologies if you have, but my biggest bugbear with Sparks on the whole is the fact that he's listened to the fans to a certain degree, because he should have, I'd have thought, not so much I'm a big Derek Adams fan, but we're in this situation again, and we're in this situation again with Hughes. We're in this situation where we've got the 4th manager in whatever it is in the space of a month, 4 or 5 weeks. The players don't have anything to go off, and so if this season's going to fizzle out, then why not just have it with Hughes and kind of reset in the summer? Because it's like then you're gonna, you know what I mean? You kind of you're twisting, and just stick for once, because twisting hasn't worked up to now.
It shows a weak person, as an owner that has a fan base, as a CEO that we have a fan base of, let's just use 15,000 for the round number. You've got to be strong-willed, because you've got to say no. You can't just give the fans what they want. And I said it when Adams got sacked. It's stupid. It was an absolute stupid decision. No matter how toxic it got, the club allowed it to get toxic. They allowed it to get toxic under Grayson, Boyer, Adams, Hughes. It'll happen under Alexander as well, no doubtably. We don't have that thing to say, no, we're in a bad turn of results. Bit like when we went through an absolute shit period with him. we went through that shit period, but then we came out the other side. But we never come out of the other side because Sparks isn't strong-willed. He just bows to the fans, which is, I am going to say the fans are at fault. But, you know, you need to step back and you need to put a bit of a backbone in and say, look, no, we're going to have to go through this. If in 4 games we've lost all 4 games, then fine, yeah, sack him, whatever. But it comes back to the thing of, look what Adam said in that podcast, that we're a big ground, big fan base in a small mentality run club, and that just proves that basically Sparks goes, well, I don't want to upset the natives and I don't want to upset the fans, so I'm just going to sack him and then wait 6 weeks to appoint a new manager. And then we're in the same shit. 2 games in, we've lost 2 games. And honestly, I said this before, Alexander, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we lost all 6 games on the bounce when his first appointment. Because swapping this is Hughes' team. This isn't Alexander's team. And that's the problem. You know, it's like me going to work, them sacking me and then going to take over another manager's team. It's completely stupid. You know, I honestly think we'd have got through that spell with Hughes and we'd have come out not shining, don't get me wrong, but I don't think sacking Hughes has done anything good. I think we could have just kept him, and I think we'd have probably been in the same position we are now, but saved however much money we have sacking Hughes. Don't know if I'm wrong there. Anybody have a comment on that?
So, like you've said about Derek Adams, I saw that statement on the TNA. Basically, he's telling the truth, isn't he, really? We don't own our own ground. We don't even have our own training facility. It would tell him the truth about it all.
Yeah, I mean, he's not said anything true, but I think also Sparks' response was very much he's played that wrong, because he could have just said, we wish Derek Adams all the best, but he's kind of said, well, this is like, basically saying, well, it's making excuses for failure. But well, you hired him. What have you done, Ryan?
He's bit, hasn't he? He's bit at the bit.
He's also set himself up, because that's one of the things that his communication skills. He says things which come back to bite him on the arse, and it's like there's nobody in the club to sort of say, look, Ryan, basically, don't forget, whatever you put out, the internet never forgets.
No.
You make a comment, that's basically going to come back and bite you in the arse. And so, I mean, Adams wasn't wrong. I'm not saying that, but, I just think it's kind of like, almost like, it seemed, let Adams be the petty one and you just say, well, I've no comment, or just wish him well, and then just move on from it. And then you look better, and, then he's not going to come back and basically to haunt you in future. So,
do you know if he'd have just said, look, I'm not willing to make a comment on inside in the club's business, Adams just left, that's it. Fans wouldn't have thought, they might have thought, well, you know what, Adams is talking out of his ass. But since that, Sparks went out and bit at the bait that he left, well, Sparks loves making these one-lining statements. No mediocrity, we're leaner and meaner, and blah, blah, whatever else he's made. They come back and, like the other lads just said, they bite you on the arse, and fans won't forget. Fans will go through and try and find statements from 6 years ago. That's the mentality. You've got to remain professional, and through it, did he remain professional? Basically, he went off on a rant on BBC Radio Leeds and made himself look like a prat, basically, didn't he? It's that no identity. You've got a CEO which is basically arguing with an ex-manager, which is at Morecambe, which are 5th in league. While we're sat 6th bottom, it just looks a bit pathetic, doesn't it? Really.
Do you know, I might be doing 2 and 2 and equally in 5 here, like the saying I like to use. But with the club being quiet on stuff, it's like, do you think change is happening? Do you think something may come out of the blue? Or do you think it's just club being just being club?
I don't know.
The club?
This is the whole thing of, I don't know. In any other club, I'd say, yeah, probably. There's probably something going on in the background, but with us, we're that quiet normally. I honestly don't know. You know, but I think I just read on Twitter. Sorry to divulge on the subject there, but this arguing with players, I get that it's annoying and it's really pissing people off, but arguing with Osadebe, arguing with Cook, ain't gonna get them on side. You know, it ain't gonna get the. And I know I hate saying it. It's not the fans' fault, but if you were doing shit at your job and then someone came and shouted at you, you'd feel like you'd want. Well, I'd want to punch them in the face. You know, it's bigger than that. You know, they only play for a club. They've been signed. You know, the problem lies bigger that it's down to the owner, the CEO, and the recruitment and the manager. And I'm not blaming Alexander at all for the first two performances because he's been dealt a shit hand, and if he does anything with it, I'll be very impressed. But the whole thing of, you know, you're not fit to wear the shirt, it sits a bit uneasy with me because I just think if you're going to do that, then they're not going to play for you either. You know what I mean? It's a hard one because, yeah, people have the right to, you know, speak their opinion. We're paying fans. We're paying for, you know, to watch. But I think fans need to look further up the tree now. You know, 7 years in, you know, we're still saying the players are shit. There's a reason why the players are shit, because we can't afford anything decent. We're in League Two. We're trying to be self-sustainable, but there's only 3 clubs in the entire Football League that are self-sustainable. One of them is Forest Green. One of them, I don't know what it is, and us. Forest Green are bottom, and we're 6th bottom. It sings a story of you can't be self-sustainable in modern-day football. You just can't. Yeah. Especially when you don't own your ground either. You know, we'd probably be self-sustainable if we owned a football ground, but we don't. That's the problem. You know, we're not expecting Rupp to come in and go, I want you to spend £20 million on players. I just want him to give us a competitive budget and personnel in the club that will allow that. Because we've got Gent, which is signed, in my eyes, a load of crap. You know.
I think, just to reiterate what we've said, has been said in previous weeks, and just in terms of Rupp's investment, we kind of up to the limit of what he can put in because of the FFP rules in terms of like commercially what you bring in. Yeah. Then it can be matched or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like we don't have. I think from what somebody said the other week was interesting is the fact that as a club we kind of our model is based on getting a lot of fans in, you know, sort of through the turnstiles, through the season tickets, which is obviously great, and it's great the fact that they're affordable season tickets, etc. But then we kind of like almost letting the fans dictate the policy of what's going on at the club, and so that's why I think, you know, somebody made the point, and it makes sense to me why they're kind of like they've twisted rather than stuck is the fact that I think, well, we can't lose 5,000-7,000 fans for next season, so we better do something about it. I mean, you know, change is needed at the club in terms of higher up from like to actually have a vision and a plan. I mean, Notts County, I think they, as I understand it, they've been relegated. They've gone through that, but they've got owners in who have put a plan in place, and you know they're reaping what they've sown, and good for them, good on them, you know, for actually doing that, because they've kind of they've had owners, whether it's owners and or CEO or a team at the top, who have got a vision, and obviously the club's best interest at heart. I'm not saying that Stefan wouldn't have that because that's his investment. But
Scott Salia, sorry.
Yeah, and I think it's from that, and you know, so I think ultimately that is what we are lacking is basically a plan that, you know, kind of is able to kind of be realised and also stuck with, but with some thought behind it. But in terms of the sustainability, I think, the model we have, and I think that's why the commercial department has done really well in the last year or two with regards to bringing in these, what they call partnerships these days, and so that's unless we get a massive sponsorship deal, that then can be matched, if you like, by the owner. Unfortunately, we're kind of limited in that respect, and I'm going off of Liam, who's does the League 606 podcast, and so I'll take him at his word for that. So that but that also makes sense as well in that respect. So we're kind of in a bit of a rock and a hard place, really, in that sense.
Are you still here, Scott? Has he disappeared?
No. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I'm kind of half listening. Yeah.
Is there anyone else want to have a say? Scott, the Notts County fan, is there anything you want to just kind
Can I just interrupt? I'm going to have to go.
Yes, I'm going to have to go as well, but go on.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go, so I will speak to you all later.
Diane, love.
Great to speak to you, Diane.
You too, right. Speak to you later. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Right.
Is there anything, Scott, that you would like to say on the back of what's been said with regards to what's worked at your club?
Are you still there, Scott? Can you hear us, Scott?
I'll just jump in if he's having technical problems. Just another thing that it came to my mind just then.
Yeah, go for it, Dan. I'll let you have last words.
When we talk about football, you talk about the love that you have with your club, yeah? Everybody has it, you want to have that love between your club. That over the last, 2 or 3 seasons for me, it's slowly going away. And I know people berate me for this one, but it's that love that it seemed that Wrexham have. They have that owner that's out there talking with the fans. We don't have that. Even as a CEO, we had James Mason, which interacted with fans. A bit like last season when we had, that love between Lewis and the fans. Every game we'd go up after. We've just lost all that love, and it goes with identity. It's just annoying because you want to support your team, you want to support your football club, but it's getting harder and harder every week to drag yourself an hour, on the train just to sit there and get disappointed. There's no you just don't feel passion in going to support them, because when that goal went in 28 seconds, I just sat there and laughed. I don't even get upset anymore when we get conceded, because it's just an expectation. And I know people, going about the Disney dream. I'd love to have what Wrexham has. I don't care if people berate me for it. I'd love it. Absolutely love it. And anybody that's sitting here saying they wouldn't is talking out their ass, because they'd absolutely lap it up if we were owned by Ryan Reynolds or someone of the same nature. And, we don't even need someone that has barrels of money. We just need someone that's passionate, and they're passionate about the fans, they're passionate about the history of the club. And Rupp just doesn't care, quite frankly. He just doesn't care enough to even say, look, we're in a shit position and we'll come through this. You just don't have any of that. And it's just, you're going to notice over the year, because the season's dead and buried, we ain't going up, not a chance. We could win every game, we ain't going up. You're going to notice that people are going to do other things with the Saturday afternoons and not come and sit and watch us. And what if 3,000 of them go, do you know what, I ain't going to buy a season ticket next year? You lose that fan base. We're going back and back. And it's hurtful as a fan, because you sit there and think the progress that we made over the last 10 years, the cup runs, Parky, even the season under McCall, we're just in the same dire situation we were 10 years ago. And I mean, I can't remember the days under Peter Taylor and whatnot, but correct me if I'm wrong, for the older generation in it, is it as bad as that yet? Is it getting as bad as that?
So with, like you're saying there, the love.
I think for me, sorry, I'm just outside, I'm just kind of getting in the car, but I think probably what people would probably almost hate the worst is that feeling of indifference. Like you said, that you actually don't care, that you laugh when the goal goes in because it's almost inevitable. And it did happen under when McCall was sacked by Rahic, and then things started to go downhill very quickly. It was almost like it's not so much the fact that you were losing games; it was the fact that I mean, in that season when sort of Grayson came in, it was the fact that people didn't care, that you weren't bothered, and like you're almost going to the games. You were going to the games, and it was just like, well, I've got, and you didn't have like that feeling of, I'm looking forward to the
passion.
Yeah, just looking forward to the game, looking forward to like, kind of where there's actually something to play for, because that you don't care enough whether they win or lose, and that is the danger at the moment. But and it's not blind optimism, because I'm not saying, but I suppose all we can do is just see how things go with Graham Alexander, and
I think we've lost him.
Gone. So I know we've got a couple of Wrexham fans joined. So I just want to get, like, before we go, I'll give it another 10, 15 minutes before we go. If any Wrexham fans want to come in and just say, like, how your club's changed over the last 2 or 3 years. If Stace or the Ledge down at the bottom there wants to come and have a chat. Because with Bradford City now, I know you're saying there that your love of the game going. That should never happen. Your love of the team should never go.
It's not that I'll never stop supporting us. I was born a City fan, I'll die a City fan. But, in a way, I think the hatred towards Wrexham is because of the jealousy towards them. Because of that engagement between the owner and the fans. There's a lot of clubs which would dream of having that, apart from the mind-numbingly wealth that he is, worth. As fans, that's what you hope for. You hope for a good owner, don't care if he spends whatever. You just want an owner or a CEO or anyone in the club, to be interacting with the fans. We don't have that. It just feels like I look at Bradford City and just think a corporate business. That's all I think of. I just think of a corporate name that wants to get his money back, and once he's got his money back, he'll piss off and forget all about it.
Yeah, it's like coming back today from the game. I was fed up. I'm never going to go to the game again. But then I've got other Stace is so like we've. I know you just joined, but we're on about the club and stuff, and I know you've currently in the last 3 years or so had a new owner. So what's it like to have like Ryan Reynolds as your owner of the club and actually pumping money into the club?
I think, to put it in simple terms, is when you've got owners that care about the community, the people, as much as what our owners do, that's what makes a huge difference.
Because like watching the Wrexham documentary, I know like your owners have gone right to the heart of the community and they're making like an impact in the community. So like if you could give Bradford City some advice, what would it be?
Just stick by your club, just like we have. We've had really awful times, to the point fans put up their mortgages on their home just to save our club. It was awful, really, really bad time. And then, we're blessed with great owners now that care about us as people Yeah, of course they want an investment as well. You know, they're businessmen at the end of the day. But they put us first as well. And that's so important. But
Sorry, go on.
the only advice I would give is just stick by your club, because eventually things will get better. That's all I can say, because, you know, years ago we were thinking it will never get better, it's always going to be shit. But we still turned up, supported our club, the diehard fans, and well, look what's happened for us now. It's just, yeah, we lost today. We lost 2-0 today, but we're all still happy even though we've lost, because we know we're going somewhere now. That's what it's about, isn't it?
The thing that I'll add about that is obviously a bit before my time, because I'd have been 1. You know, this happened. Did this happen when we nearly went out of the league in 2000 after the Premier League? If anyone would correct me on that, if I'm talking out my arse. But it has happened before where fans have had to, you know, buy the club out, you know, save the club from going under. You know, we just seem to have that bad luck. And I think, you know, like my dad's been going, 40 odd years. He hasn't been to a game in 6 games because he's just not interested. And I think that's when, if you lose your core, supporters, you're done in, aren't you? You've lost your core supporters. You've lost the interest.
Is it like when we had Derek Adams down?
No. I'm on about in 2000 when we spent far too much money and nearly went under. That's what I'm on about. You know, does it feel that we're in that same situation where, you know, if we go out of the league, is that us? Is it good night Bradford? Because, you know, we've got fans that are just not interested. Who's going to put up money for a club that's, you know, in the National League if we did go down?
I don't think personally we'll go down, though.
No, I don't think we will, because I think there's poorer teams in the league, Forest Green and Sutton, thankfully. You know, thankfully we've got teams in the league which are worse than us. But my point still stands as, don't rule it out, because it can happen. You know, all Scunthorpe fans went, it won't happen to us, and guess what? Oh, it did. You know, Rochdale and Oldham fans, they all said, oh, it won't happen to us, and guess what? It did.
Yeah.
You know, just because we've got a big fan base and a big ground doesn't mean it won't happen, and that's the thing that concerns me. We're a little bit big-headed in terms of it won't happen to us. You know, we'll stay up. We might, but we might not either. You know, we've got to be erring on that caution of side of, if it does happen, what the hell's going to happen? Because if we went down, theoretically speaking, just if we went down, I don't think we will, but if we did, could you see us going straight back up?
National League's hard to get out of, though. And, like, I know, like, Stace with Wrexham in Notts County, only 2 teams go up, don't they? And then, but the top team goes up, but then, is it second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, going to, like, a playoffs?
Yeah.
It's one of them. It's horrible, isn't it?
Look at when Chesterfield went down seasons ago. They used to be in league. They're top, admittedly, at the moment, but it's took them years to get back there. Rochdale, Oldham, Southend, all Football League teams, all gone down. They're in mid-table. You know, I think we would really struggle. It reminds me of Yeovil, with the way that they capitulated from the Championship and just dropped. It just reminds me of they've got a $10,000, $11,000 seater and they fill it. It just reminds me that just because you've got a big ground and a big fan base doesn't mean that we could fall through the leagues, because we honestly could. With the way that we're misrun, it just concerns that it could happen. And if it did happen, you know, everybody said when we went down to League 2 we'd go straight back up, and guess what? We haven't. We've been in here 5, 6 seasons now. No, 5. It ain't as easy as people make out, and honestly, it's all about the direction. Wrexham have that direction of they're going up. You know, I honestly think we could stay in League Two, and Wrexham could be in the Championship by the time we even get close to getting promoted out of this league, because we have no direction. Notts County as well. It's just...
They've got owners who like to spend money, though, aren't they?
Even that, it's the direction. You know, even, you know, they've got money, don't get me wrong, and maybe that problem with Wrexham will happen because they signed a lot of people on 3-year deals when there were no wage limit. Maybe that problem will come in 3 seasons when the deals run out. I'm not too sure on their signings, but these teams like Stockport, Notts County, Wrexham, that all have direction, and at the moment, you know, I can't see that. You know, Stockport finished... Did they finish below or above us last year? Above us, didn't they?
Yeah, I think because we finished like...
Fourth.
Fourth
or fifth. I think they finished above us. They're top. You know, Salford haven't got off to a cracking start. They're 15th, but I think it'll come good for Salford in the end. Us and Donny, both run by owners that don't care, and both in an absolute shit situation near the bottom of the league. You know, it's just... I think the only thing we can do is wait, and I think around Christmas you'll know if we are deeply in trouble. But it's one of them that you're screwed if you do, screwed if you don't. You know, you jump the gun too fast, you're screwed. You jump the gun too early, you know. You jump the gun too late, you're screwed again. But I honestly, I don't know. It's just a bit of the moment where, like, you know, what you advise, what you do, because I don't even know.
Have you got any last words, Stan? Or is he still away? Stacey, have you got any last words?
No, I wasn't expecting to speak, so thanks.
Right, no problem. Dan, you got any last words?
Just hope we win against Aki Stanley, because I tell you what, if we don't, it's going to turn nasty in that ground on Saturday. It really will. It'll turn nasty, and it'll turn real nasty, because everyone's getting a bit pissed off now.
No, Bradford City Fans Independent has joined. Steve, if you got anything you want to say, bud, feel free for the last 5 or 10 minutes. Just get your... I know you've joined in the past, just want to get your thoughts again on the situation and basically to see what you do. If you fancy speaking, I've sent you an invite to speak. So if you feel like speaking, you can have a chat if you like.
Out of question, who have we got next? We've got Aki Stanley, Forest Green, Salford, Gillingham, Doncaster, and Morecambe to the end of the season. How many? And Stockport. Oh, God, that's a shit into the season. How many points can you see? Because I can only see 3 or 4 points coming out of them.
If we get rid of the players in January, I think we'll do well. But I'm going to pass on to, I think his name's Steve, if my memory serves me correctly. If you want to speak, Steve, and just see what you do again and just introduce people to yourself.
Hi, good evening, Johnny. I just came on to listen, really. We're still trying to organise spaces and things like that, and obviously I'm pretty gutted after today's result, though it was expected. I've already been listening through my own personal profile earlier. What I will say is we formed an independent fans group simply because we get kind of various different people saying to us they've lost a little bit of faith in the supporters board and things like that. I don't really want to dwell on those things, but effectively we wanted to try and form something that would be, its whole goal was to wholly represent the supporters base of Bradford City Football Club. We're all fans. We all love the club. Some more than others at the moment, because I think quite a few fans are a bit disillusioned. And so that's what we're trying to do. But today, I think I've seen a whole new level of toxicity across the hashtag. I think there's some very upset people. What I will say is, where Rupp's concerned, it's a very tricky one. simply because, if he pulls the plug, it could be quite dangerous territory. I think somebody earlier was speaking about if we dropped into non-league, it might finish the club. I have to agree with that, with the financial outlay in terms of the stadium, etc. It would be very, very difficult. So, you're in this kind of vicious circle where there is many fans wanting to kind of protest by reducing their spending to the club, which would, I think, then have a knock-on effect in terms of financial stability. But then on the other flip side of that is what can we do as fan base to affect change? And this is the kind of difficult question at the moment for all of us who follow Bradford City and have followed them for many years. And that is that, we want, a big percentage of the fan base wants some change. We would probably say at this moment in time that there are some fundamental problems structurally with the club. I think Ryan Sparks he's hired David Longo as a commercial director and done, and he's done a very, very good job. Commercially, I think we're in the best position we've been in for some time. We are self-sufficient as a club. But the reality is that, on-field progression has declined from 7 years ago when Rupp bought the club. And there has to be some reasons for that. And there also has to be some reasons why managers have faced significant challenge when they've come to our club. So, we've got a situation at the moment where a very large supporter base is divided on quite a few things, is frustrated. And to echo somebody else who was speaking earlier, and forgive me, I'm sorry, I don't remember who it was who made the point, but communication from the club, whether we like it or not, has dipped significantly. And I think I said this last week, Johnny, that, we did have the era of James Mason who would engage with fans, etc., respectfully, even through good and bad. Dave Baldwin was another one who would quite happily speak to people. And Ryan, I completely kind of get from his point of view, the man doesn't deserve to be threatened or slagged off or anything like that. People should be respectful with him. But I think the turning point was he came off Twitter and he came off his social platforms and then nothing. And I think the club admin on social media does their best, but the reality is that frustration has just grown and grown and grown because there is really, from what I can see, no real plan, or doesn't seem to be any substance of a plan. Our recruitment, I think, the last two windows has been poor. I think that we've then outlaid kind of compensation payments when we've fired managers, which has not helped us. And some would argue, well, the reality is they weren't performing, and that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but again, those compensatory payments for people, managers leaving their positions has a knock-on effect in terms of our budget. But then, we've got now people writing to us and commenting on posts, talking about Stephen Gent. And I think that some of that criticism is deserved, really, in the basis of the signings that have been made. I think from the last window, Pattinson probably was the only one who fans felt there was a decent signing. And then some of the loans that we've taken have not really made any sense. We've not really done anything with them. So what's the point of paying budget out each week for those? So, from our point of view, we're going to try and organise a space. We've been trying to do it, but it's just getting schedules aligned. And I think, Johnny, we're going to try and do something. I know I'm going to try and do something with Adam Williams. But effectively, we want to try and get something or build something with other fans. We're not saying we're going to just become this group that's faceless, etc. Fans should be part of what we're trying to do, and we want to try and then get or become the voice from the fan base back to the club, so that because at this moment in time, there's really nobody effectively challenging them. The supporters board, have tried to do a good job, but the fact of the matter is right now, me as a fan, I want the supporters board to be challenging the club and asking them difficult questions. Why have we declined on field as heavily as we have over the last 7 years? What has changed? Why are managers basically kind of not acclimatizing to what we have to offer? The questions go on, and I think at this moment in time, Ryan, he's doing his best to try and kind of keep the club going. He's made decisions; he has to make those decisions. But the fact of the matter is that when the going gets tough, he's nowhere to be seen. We've not heard anything that would help the fans to basically understand and get behind for quite a long time. And we want to request, and and if anybody's from the club is listening to this or will listen back to it, we would want to request formally that the club starts to look at providing, as a matter of urgency, a fans forum for fans to attend respectfully, but to ask the questions and get answers that they need. Because I think the longer that it goes on with the fan base not hearing anything of any substance and speculating, I think the greater the toxicity becomes, and it's not going to go away. And so if Mr. Sparks thinks that it's going to be a case of if he hides long enough it'll go away, I don't think it will, and I think it's getting progressively worse from fans as we move forward. So I think that they have to be brave, put their big boy pants on, get a fans forum officially, and let the basically the fans come along respectfully. Kind of minimise numbers, whatever you need to do. But I think that fans have a right to ask questions when they're the biggest stakeholder in the club. We are the people that spend our money on tickets, on merchandise, on food on the concourse, on drink. And I think that we have a right to actually ask those questions in terms of the progression and the direction of the club as we move forward. But anybody wants to join our membership, it's free. You just literally go to our website, and you can find that on our Twitter. Come and follow us on Twitter, play a part. We literally, we ran a poll the other week. We were very respectful to fans who took the time to comment on the poll. We know that we can't please everybody, but we'll always basically kind of respect their kind of view, and we'll try to answer accordingly. There is no magic ball here. We haven't got all the answers. We don't know, we don't know really what's going on in the club because, we can't seem to get any answers out of the club at the moment. But the fact of the matter is that I think something has to change, and bantam progressivism has to come back, and we need to basically move forward as a club. But to do that, you need fans and club united for the greater good.
Yep. So I'll just have to click that a minute, 2 seconds. Right. So I want to say thank you for everybody for joining today. And this also is a couple of podcasts we've been doing on Bradford City Up the Chickens on Spotify and Apple Music, and also on Facebook on Bradford City Up the Chickens, and finally on YouTube, Brace Hodge 1 on YouTube. So thanks everybody again for coming, wherever you're in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good...
Hi, I'm Danny Pellegrino from the Everything Iconic podcast, and who doesn't love a classic burger from McDonald's? That's right, McDonald's classic burgers are hotter, juicier, and tastier than ever. The patties are cooked to juicy perfection. I love the cheese perfectly melted on top. I love the Big Mac that has a special sauce in every bite. I love the pillowy, soft, golden bun. So in the words of the Hamburglar, which I believe means grab McDonald's best burgers ever before Hamburglar does at a McDonald's near you.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.